dear students, let us start our third part of our lesson, that is on computation of expected frequencies for M/N contingency tables. To compute the expected frequencies for an M/N contingency table, we can follow these steps. First, we need to obtain the observed frequencies by collecting the actual counts or frequencies for each cell in the M/N contingency table. Then you need to calculate the row totals as earlier, that is the total counts for each row by summing the observed frequencies in that row. We can denote them as R1, R2 and so on Rm. Earlier we went with only 2 rows and 2 columns, so we have been stopped at R1 and R2, where here you are generalizing it for m number of rows, hence you are moving for R1, R2 and so on Rm. Automatically the calculation part will comes for the column totals as C1, C2 and so on Cn. Earlier it is only 2 number of columns, so we stopped with C1 and C2. Now here you are generalizing for n number of columns, hence you are moving for C1, C2 and so on Cn. By summing up of each values in the column, we can obtain these column totals. Next, to calculate our overall total, that is adding all the values in the table, we can obtain your grand total, where I can represent it as capital T as like earlier. Next, to compute the expected frequencies capital E by assuming the independence, we can move on with a cell as I, j. Earlier in the table we went with only 2 number of rows and 2 number of columns, so simply we represented as 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. But now here it has been went with an generalization, hence you are representing as I, j. So for each cell I, j in the contingency table, calculate the expected frequency as the product of corresponding row and divide the column totals by the grand totals Eij, that is your Ri into Cj by T. So how you have been calculated in the earlier cases, you are doing the same, but here you need to concentrate on your respective row and respective column properly. So here your Ri denotes the total count for the ith row, Cj denotes the total count for the jth column, and capital T denotes the grand total. The expected frequencies E represent the values that would be expected under the assumption of independence between the row and column variables. By comparing the observed frequencies to the expected frequencies, you can assess the association between the variables using statistical tests such as chi-square test. Here again the degrees of freedom will not be changed, number of rows minus 1 into number of columns minus 1, but here you cannot get the value without knowing your m and n. So in 2 by 2 you can go with 2 minus 1 into 2 minus 1, which is 1, that is a fixed degrees of freedom, whereas here based upon your number of rows and number of columns, your degrees of freedom will be varied. It means that you should be known with your capital M and capital N, then only it can be calculated. For this here you can fix your H0 and H1 as, that is your null hypothesis alternative, as there is no association between the two variables. In H1 you can write it as there is an association between the two variables. While writing towards in a problem, real time problem, the two variables can be specified clearly. Here you have been generalizing, thus you are using a word as the two variables, but while writing in a problem, real time problem, you have to mention your variable name. Now again you can go for our observed frequencies with some example here, that is your hair color and eye color, where I have been representing it as an hair color in 3 different types, that is fair, brown and black, whereas in eye color I am going with blue, grey, brown. So here you can see that these values 15 will be representing hair color fair, at the same time eye color blue. It means that the 15 number of persons are having fair hair color and blue eye color. So here each and every number will speaks about the 2 different categories. Let us, I can make it also one more example as 20 here. This 20 will represent that hair color, that is 20 number of persons are having black hair color and grey eye color. Similarly here the total, each and every total will speaks about the individuality. Here you can see that the 40 will speaks about that 40 number of persons are having blue eye color, you can understand here. Similarly 50 number of students are having grey eye color, 60 will having the brown eye color. Here similarly in the 60, 30, 60 will speaks about the hair colors, that is 60 number of persons are having fair hair color, 30 are having brown hair color, 60 are having black hair color. At the outset overall 150 will be your grand total. Now how to calculate the expected frequencies? You can mention with the same process which you done in your 2 by 2, where here you are doing with for your m by n here. But as m by n here you are having it as an 3 number of columns and 3 number of rows. Again these total values has to be taken from your previous case, that is your observed frequencies, that is your row total is 40 into column total is 60 divided by grand total is 150, where you are getting the value it as an 16, that is 16 number of persons are having fair hair color and blue eye color, that is the 16 speaks about the expected frequency. In the similar fashion you can see over here 40 will be the row total multiplied with the 30, that is your column total divided by 150. Again I am reminding you these 40 and 30 has not obtained from here, these 40 and 30 has been obtained from your observed frequencies which have been calculated earlier, but these total has to be matched with your observed frequency only, that is 40, 50, 60 which has to be matched in the earlier cases. Here you can see that 60 into 60, it means that here 60 will be the row total for this, that is the third row total, and 60 will be your first column total divided by grand total 150, which means that 24 number of persons are having fair hair color and brown eye color. In the similar fashion these totals will represent the each categories, 40 will speaks about the blue eye color, 50 will speaks about grey eye color, 60 will speaks about brown eye color. In a similar fashion here 60 will speaks about the fair hair color, 30 will speaks about the brown hair color, and the last 60 will also speaks about the black hair color, and the final total 150 will speaks about the total number of observations you have been obtained. Let us summarize the lesson. We have been went with the 3 different parts. In the first part we went with the construction of a two-way contingency table, how we can construct. In the same time in the second part we went with the 2 by 2 contingency table construction and the computation of expected frequency. Further in the part 3 we went with the m by n contingency table construction and calculation of expected frequencies. I am confident that you all understood all the concepts which have been covered in the lesson chi-square for two-way classification variables contingency table analysis. Thank you.